waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning. Because when I started, I was doing domiciliary care where you're going door to door, you're driving to people's houses. It was hectic, Noble. The first 6 months were really, it was a trying time.
Yeah.
I remember I would come back around 10 in the evening. I would be crying. I'd be crying thinking, is this what I left? I felt like I was going to come, do care work for 2 weeks and go into insurance. That was my thinking.
So you didn't quite understand the fact
I didn't quite understand that no, girl, there are like terms and conditions and things that you have to, It was that reality that then sank and said, my God, so I have to do this for 5 years. I have to put in the work for 5 years until I get that indefinite leave to remain, until I get that British citizenship. I have to do this for 5 years.
Hello, hi, I am Nobukumalo and welcome to Seasons, a series where I sit down with some of the incredible people I've had the opportunity of rubbing shoulders with. And we talk about, the different seasons that we've been through in life or are currently going through, in the hopes that you'll feel seen, that you'll relate, and that you'll know you are not alone. So today I have here with me someone I have known, I cannot believe it's been 10 years since I've known her. She was one of those girls at church back home in Zim who I was like, when I grow up, I want to be like that. Those people who seem to like have everything together. And at that time, I think I was still like in the late stages of my teen years. And she was obviously now like a grown woman. And I was like, it's the type of person I want to be. But I think we lost touch for a very
long time, but we kind of like
and then
connected again.
2 or so years ago, we reconnected. And now we're both here in the UK, and her name is Sharon. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Nobu. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you for answering the call. Actually, one of the few people before this seasons thing came about that I wanted to have here to talk about what we're talking about today. I think you remember I told you about it.
Yeah, you did.
I think it was in 2022 when I did I think I did a few interviews with a few people, and I was like, Sharon, I want you to come on my channel so that we talk about this thing I'm going to talk about today. But I'm not going to preempt. Before we get into it, I'm going to ask you about 2 icebreaker questions.
Okay, that's fine.
Cool. So you travel a lot. Or maybe not a lot. A lot.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
What is the most adventurous thing you've done in your latest travels?
Well, to be honest, in the latest travels, I think we went on this, it's like a boat cruise. I'm so afraid of water.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? If I don't live a little, I'm never going to do anything. Because, we go there, next thing we're just probably looking at the historical sites, and that's it. We stay on land. Because even my husband was like, if we sink, I'm going to blame you. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do it.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get out of our comfort zone.
Okay.
And first we was like, okay, fine, let's do a boat cruise.
Okay.
And if we know, if we come out alive in this one, we'll do more.
How long was it?
We went for 5 days.
I'm asking because I think I'm generally an adventurous person, but my husband has been trying to get us to go on a cruise, and I'm always like, bro, I don't know if I want to be away from land for such a long time.
Exactly.
Like, what if something goes wrong? I don't know if that's the way I want to go.
Yeah,
And he was like, no, this is modern day cruises. Like, they're literally like a hotel.
Yeah.
In a ship, there's everything. There's medics, there's.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet. But hopefully next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you watch series a lot?
Yeah, I do.
If there was a character that you would play from any series, what would it be?
But at the moment, I'm watching Grey's Anatomy.
Okay, cool. Yes, I watch Grey's
Obviously,
as well.
everyone wants to be Meredith Grey.
Why?
We want to
Why?
groundbreaking research and everything. I think I like her, and I've been watching it since. I think it's on season 20 now.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that, everything it seems as if it's centered on her, but, it branches out with different characters, but everything...
She brings everything together.
Yes. And I like that, yeah.
I see it. I like Meredith as well. I like Meredith. Cool, so let's get into it. So, I kept saying I've wanted Sharon to come start to talk about this thing, and I haven't been saying what this thing is.
Yeah.
So Sharon is originally in the insurance space. I remember,
yes,
when I was telling you that when I was young, I wanted to be that girl because she had like a very good, thriving career in insurance back home there in Zim, doing big things, going going places.
I did try.
But as life would have it, sometimes we have to, set aside the big thing, the end goal, for the sake of, seeking better opportunities.
Exactly.
Sharon's also a mum, so she has a little boy that she also needs to take care of, and I'm sure this, that factor is something that she had to consider when she was deciding, do I stay in the field that I'm in and what I'm doing, or do I take this chance that has come up?
That's true.
But I'm wary of ending up telling her story. I'm going to backtrack a bit and let's talk about your insurance journey before you decided to take this life-changing step, which has landed you here in the UK. And we'll get to that, and you'll know what that step is. How did you get into insurance?
To be honest, you know what I say, these people don't even believe me. But I knew I wanted to be insurance since I was 14 years old.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you even understand what insurance is?
I didn't at that time. I didn't. But what happened was that when I was in Form 2, and there was our commerce teacher, Mrs. Manyatelo.
Yeah.
Until now, I'm even trying to look for her, but I can't find her anyway. We used to do commerce because we used to be split between commerce and accounting. Half of the class would go to commerce, half the class would go to accounting.
Yeah.
So when I started doing commerce, I remember when she came up with the topic, oh, does anyone understand insurance? I mean, everyone would obviously say, oh, we don't understand it. And, we started talking about, the basic principles of insurance, pulling off risks. And I got so fascinated and drawn to that. I didn't understand it at that time, but there was something that I wish I could put it in words to say that was that eureka moment to say, you know what, I want to do it. This is what I want. But I knew that I wanted to do that. But to try to convince your parents to say, okay, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be an insurer. They were like, do you even understand what that means?
What do you mean insurance? You're 14.
Exactly. You're 14, you probably don't know. Maybe you want to be a lawyer or something,
Yeah.
But I knew what I wanted to do since I was 14. But I guess it's the getting there that was a bit of a challenge, because it was more of convincing my father. Because my father was a very pessimistic person. He would just destroy you, like destroy your dreams. He would destroy your dreams.
Yeah.
So when I finished high school, obviously he was like, so what do you want to do? I want to do insurance. By that time, Midland State University, we were in Gweru, because I grew up in Gweru.
Yeah.
It didn't have insurance.
Insurance, yeah.
Right. And then you were told, okay, fine. Where are you going to get this insurance?
Did you have people that were insurance that you knew of, or you just learned about it in class and had no visible?
I learned about it in class.
Yeah.
And funny enough, my sister, my older sister, went into insurance.
Okay.
So my dad sort of thought that that was my motivation.
You just want to be like your sister.
But it wasn't even that, because my sister actually did accounting, then worked for National Blood Transfusion.
Yeah.
She actually got into insurance through the accounting part, right?
Yeah.
And then she then moved to like the insurance, the underwriting stuff. So it wasn't really, it was like I was living vicariously through her saying, oh, you know what, you're living my dream, shame on you type of thing.
Yeah.
So it was more like after high school, I tried to convince my dad I want to do insurance. It was like, you know what, you choose either you do insurance or you go to university and do. I know you wanted me to do human resource management.
You're like, bro,
I'm not doing.
Everyone is doing HR. I think especially in Zim, it's HR. It's there's this one library something like there are those courses that have a lot of people doing them.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would have been.
It wasn't. I was like, I knew at that time. I mean, to be honest, defying my father was like. It was like you would just get treason or something like that. But I felt like if I can't do what I want, then I don't want to do it. I didn't even go to university because of that. Because I was like, I don't want to do this.
I actually relate to you, because how I ended up in law was also a bit... So during my gap year, even before our A-level results came out, maybe you can blame watching too much of Suits. I went to my parents and I was like, I don't know if it was both my parents or just my dad. And I was like, I think I know what I want to do now. And they're like, what is it? And I said, I want to do law. My dad is like, remember, I was a sciences kid, so like I did pure sciences,
Yeah.
maths, biochemistry in my A levels. I had done like pure sciences from my O levels, and then my dad is like, where is it coming from? And I think he thought that maybe I'm afraid that I've failed.
Yes.
So I'm trying to look for a backup that would be easy to go into. So it's just like, no, you know what? Let's wait for the results to come out. And then the results came out, and I think that kind of planted doubts in my head that do I actually really want to do this? But the good thing is like, okay, maybe. And I appreciate him for this. He spoke to one of Elder Promise Ncube.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I do.
he spoke to him and was like, my daughter says she wants to study law. She has no idea what this law thing is, but can she come shadow you guys for a week so that she learns and to other affirm that this is really what she wants to do or not. So I appreciate him for that. But come my results, when I went to South Africa to apply for uni, I was going to apply for, I think, pharmacy, biomed science and all that stuff. But when I got there, somewhere I was just like, I'm just going to make an application for law. So I get it, but eventually my dad came around. But so you didn't go to uni. How then did you?
I didn't go to uni. We fought. I then went to Botswana for like a year with my sister because I felt like at that moment she was sort of the only person who understood. I was like, I don't want to do human resources or anything. I want to do insurance.
Yeah.
But even there's a time when I started doubting myself because I was like, maybe I want to have this dream, but it's not possible because Ama University didn't have it. I think NAST was there, but to even talk about going to NAST at 18, 19, that was not even up for discussion with my parents. So I went to Botswana, and then my sister was like, okay, fine. There's it's called a certificate of insurance, right? It's like a COP. That's like the standard like certificate for you to actually be into insurance. You're like, okay, fine. We're going to do this, but you need to want this. And I was like, I want this.
Yeah.
I remember it was in September. The exam was being written on I think on the 4th or the 5th of October. And I had like a month. My sister was like, okay, fine, I'm going to register for you to write this insurance, right? But you're going to be, because remember, I haven't even been in insurance. I just did high school, like a paragraph of insurance, and that was it, right? And you're having to write exams with people that are actually in insurance who are practicing it every day, right? And I was like, I'm going to prove to my sister. So I studied for a month, a full month, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I was cramming. I was like, I'm going to do this. Funny enough, do you know that I was actually the highest student who wrote that COP with everyone else who had been working in insurance? I was the one who was the highest. And everyone who was actually working in insurance, they got above 54, 55%, and I got
You wanted it. I think
I wanted it.
When she said you have to want it,
I wanted it. And it's just that, when at our age, back then, our parents just thought, you know what, they don't know what they want. But I knew, like at a tender age, I knew what I wanted. And I knew, finally, there was that thin line between, you don't want to defy your parents and respect, but you just don't want to just end up miserable. You're coming in here, I'm an HR manager, and I'm just firing people. And
when you think about it, a lot of these people in HR, maybe they're just angry.
You see?
I totally get the pressure, especially when you've kind of been defiant. Relating it back again to my story. I had my father's blessing to go into it.
Yeah.
But I went in there with some pressure that I can't fail at this because of the work that went into convincing them. Because if I go into this and then I fail at it, I don't want someone to say, I told you so.
I told you.
So I totally get it.
For me, like I said, my dad was very pessimistic.
Yeah.
So I knew that if I do this, I fail, I'll never hear the end of it. I was like, I need to prove to myself, I know I want this. I might not understand it, but I need to prove to him that, you know what? I know what I want. I know it might not make sense to you, but hopefully one day it will make sense to you when I'm successful and all of that. So I then did that. So when it came to the diploma now, I came back to Zim. I showed him my results. I was like, okay, fine. Dad, I have obtained the COP. And he was looking at me like, he felt like ambushed, like, okay, fine. we thought, you going to Botswana,
yeah.
coming back, you would come back with, a sane mind. And I was like, okay, fine, I want to do this. I'm going to do the diploma, and fine, right now I don't have money. I still depend on you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to pay for your school fees, right? But like I said, if you fail at this, you'll never hear the end of it. So because there wasn't any like a formal school, my sister then connected with another insurance broker. His name was Mr. Matare. He had he was head of a progressive insurance company. And he kind of like was guiding me. Obviously, in as much as you would be studying it, the program is more of professionals that are already in it who just want to like, to just keep up with the trends and stuff. So he was sort of helping me with the practical part, and obviously the theoretical part, I was doing it by myself. And diploma, as we know it, I aced it. I got it. And then when I did and funny enough, I then, after my diploma, my dad was like, you know what, find a job. And I was thinking, but I want to finish the whole program. But I was like, no, I'm not going to be wasting my time. You're going to do this whole program. Next thing, you're just sitting, right? And I was like, okay, fine. I tried to find a job, and obviously I couldn't find a job in insurance. Then I remember it was 2008, 2008, 2009. An aunt of mine, well, she had a, that company. It wasn't like insurance, but it was just, those companies. She was like, oh, you can come and just work and just, try to make money and stuff and everything, since I was that black sheep who didn't go to university. I was like, okay, fine. I then went there for like 2 years. I was just trying to raise my funds and everything. And then by then I was in Harare. And then I sort of like, to be honest, I sort of like got excited about the money. And then I sort of like let go of my dream. But it was still there, but I knew, okay, fine. I needed to have money. I needed to have funds, because no one was going to pay for my school fees. My dad was like, I'm out of this. You now need to, since you want to do it, you need to want it and make it happen. So I then worked for like 2 years at my aunt's company, and as you know, it's Zimbabwe, being Zimbabwe, the company closed. Then in 2011, well, sadly my dad passed away in 2012, right? Then in 2012, I was walking around every insurance company, leaving my CV. When you get into someone's office and you hand in your CV, you're at the mercy of that person. You're like, I'm just going to leave my CV. So this man was like, oh, okay, fine, you can leave it. He was like, oh, wait, do you have insurance experience? I was like, no, I just did the diploma. So I was a bit puzzled, because like I said, this was a program that was done by people that were already in the insurance. And it was like, wait, so how did you do it? And then I was like, no, I just like insurance. And like everyone else asked me, do you understand what insurance is? I was like, yeah, I do understand the theoretical side, but the practical side I don't. I was like, okay, fine. I have a branch manager, like his workmate, who's in Bulawayo, who's looking for underwriting assistant. Would you be interested in going to Bulawayo? And I was like, even if you said, let's go to Mars, I would go, right? So he then sent my CV to the branch manager in Bulawayo. Then they phoned me. And they're like, oh, yeah, if you're interested, then come for interviews, right? Then I went for the interview, and I aced it. I got my job. But like I said, then my dad passed away in 2012. So I feel like, in a way, I wanted him to see me, but he never got that chance to see me.
So say, look at me now, it worked
Look at me
out.
now. Look at me, it worked out. But, God had other plans. So I then got into insurance, and I loved it. To be honest, when they say when a child gets into a candy store, it's like you don't even know what to do with yourself. So I worked my way out, and then because I had a diploma, I was like, no, I'm going to advance myself. I advanced. I did the associate's degree. And funny enough, I was actually the best student for that.
This thing was yours.
It was mine. I feel like when I tell this story, I want to give that young girl or young, that boy or girl who thinks, you know what, my dreams have to be valid. You have to go for it. Sometimes you have to defy the people that you yes, our parents know what's best for us. But at that time, you know what you want. You need to go for it.
Yeah.
Rather you fail and say, you know
And
what?
having tried.
I failed. I tried. It didn't work out. And that's it.
There's a phrase that I've heard that says, if you think the pain of failure is if you think failure is painful, try regret. Or something like that. To always wonder what could have become, if I had just like tried it out. Yeah.
So yeah, I then worked insurance. I think it was 2012, 2013. And then 2016, my branch manager then moved to Harare.
Yeah.
And because it was a small branch,
Yeah.
right? I would have been next in line, but
Yeah.
they were like, nah, she's a woman. She's, it's that patriarchal society where you're like, you're a woman.
You can't be in charge of everything here as a woman.
And remember, this is insurance. It's predominantly men.
Yeah.
In Bulawayo, it was predominantly men. And then women were there, but it was more of the lower level positions and stuff. So my boss in Harare, right, the executive director was a woman, right?
Okay.
Then
the importance of representation, of having women in important places.
True. It's very true. So I then went to Harare, and then she was like, okay, Sharon, I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to give you a chance. I see how, focused and determined you are, and I'm going to give you a chance and we'll see how it goes. So already I feel like with my insurance, I had like a gun to my head to say, if you fail, if you fail.
It literally feels like you had to climb the hills and the mountains.
Exactly, to get to where I want. Yeah. And, I'm glad that, she gave me a chance.
Yeah.
And I became the branch manager. Again, when we went to meetings, I was the only woman.
Mm-hmm. But did they to some extent respect you though?
You have to earn it. Okay. To be honest, you have to earn it. You go into meetings and, there are teas and stuff, and everyone is looking at you to say,
expecting you to serve them tea.
You see,
they're like, I'm not your wife.
I remember there's a gentleman. I won't say his name. Yeah. Right. There was a gentleman who made a joke and said, you know what? We're in this. So who's going to make the tea? So everyone then ended up just looking at me like. So I at that time, you're just like, you know what, I really don't care. I just stood up, took the kettle and made tea for everyone. But it was just that you felt like, I'm here. I'm sitting at the table with you.
I've earned the place at the table, but still
you I have to be the one
to the idea that you have in your head.
You're the one who makes tea. You're a woman. So I felt like, I think for me, those were just some of the challenges in insurance, where I worked for a reinsurance company, and usually with reinsurance, it's like that's the like, there's insurance and then there's reinsurance.
So is it reinsurance, insurance of insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have someone who's going to say, okay, fine, I need a quote for this risk.
Yeah.
Right. But because you're a woman, someone would rather go to other reinsurance companies, and when they don't get the terms they want, then they come to you and say, okay, fine, give me terms. You get it?
Yeah.
So it was just that I had to deal with a lot of patriarchal, patriarchal society. But eventually, then, you get tired. Say, okay, fine. She's good at what she does. You can't really blame her.
Yeah.
Yes, she's a woman and she's the only one. Maybe she's trailblazing.
Yeah.
I remember when I bought my first car, my grandmother was like, so who's going to marry you now? I was like, really? I'm a branch manager. I just bought a car. To be honest, at my age, I think by then I was 20s. I don't know. I was in my late 20s.
Yeah.
You're thinking, I'm someone I didn't have that moment where I went crazy and I did a gap year and I did weed or whatever.
Yeah.
I've been a consistent child.
Yeah.
I've done everything by the book.
Yeah.
And I'm successful in my own right.
Yeah.
I'm successful. I'm a successful 28, 29-year-old.
Yeah.
And you're still reducing me to say, oh yeah, who's going to marry you now?
Now that you're this successful, who's going to marry you now?
You see, you're a branch manager. No one is going to even come anywhere close to you. And I guess because of that, I sort of like just said, you know what? I don't care. If it means I'm going to die old and grey and without any husband, as long as I fulfilled my dream of being insurance, anything else can just go with somewhere else, you see. So yeah.
So tell me, it's been, I didn't know your journey to insurance was this deep. Because I met you in 2014 when you're already in Bloeo
Yeah, I
in this
was
branch. So
already.
I thought you had the normal traditional route, or maybe she did like commercials and then went
No,
to do an
it
insurance
wasn't
degree.
like that.
In my head, it didn't even click that is there an insurance degree in South. I didn't know, but I didn't know the backstory.
Yeah.
But tell me, after having gone through all this, many many years later, you hear about this opportunity to come to the UK through this care work visa. Where did you hear about it, and what were your initial thoughts?
Okay, to be honest, what happened was that because with my job, first aid is like mandatory for everyone.
Yeah.
So my first aid certificate from work
Yeah.
had expired.
Okay.
So they were like, oh yeah, you need to go and get your first aid training so that whatever happens, you're able to assist. That first point of
Yeah.
call. So I then went to Red Cross.
Yeah.
And I got there. I was like, I want to register for my. I want to renew my first aid training certificate. She was like, oh, so you want to go to the UK? At first, I was like, the UK? What does Red
What
Cross
does that have to do?
with?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, people are going to the UK with Red Cross. Again, there's this stereotype to say, okay, fine, Red Cross has always been looked down upon,
Yes.
like, how would you be going? I mean, I've got a degree, I've got masters. You mean to tell me I can't go to
the UK, but Red Cross can go to
Red Cross? So yeah, when I heard about it, I remember it was in 2021 in June.
Yeah.
Right. And she was like, oh yeah, you can go to the UK, And at that time you're thinking, so what am I going to be doing in the UK with Red Cross?
Yeah.
Right. She was like, yeah, they need nurse aides. They nurse aid, and you're thinking, but nurse aid? What's a nurse
What's a
aid?
nurse aid?
What's
Yeah.
a nurse? I didn't even know what a nurse aid was. Believe me. So I was like, I just brushed it off. I was
Yeah.
just like, you know what? I don't know. This woman is just talking nonsense. Let me just go on with my first aid course.
Yeah.
I did it. I finished. So when I was then coming back to get my certificate, I see there's so many people. So conversations.
Yes,
Women, we
what
love
goes on-
talking.
exactly.
She was, and then there was this lady saying, oh yeah, I'm doing my first nurse aid training. I'm going to the UK, and I'm like, I'm one. Okay, for me personally, I think not that I like helping people.
Okay.
And sometimes I like to impact knowledge when I'm not in.
When it's when no one has asked you.
Yes, I wanted to impact knowledge to say, I have an associate's degree, and I actually did a degree in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I did it online.
Yeah.
It was still in insurance.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me that I've tried to go to the UK using insurance, and you, with your nurse aid, you mean to tell me that you're going to go to the UK? At that point, I felt like it was wrong of me because it's like you're killing someone's dream,
Yeah.
right? You don't understand what motivated them to do that. But she was like, oh no, my aunt is in the UK. She said I should do this program. I was like, anyway, let me just leave it, right? But you have that nagging feeling to think, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this? So I remember there was a colleague of mine. I was like, okay, I heard this nurse aid. When you're talking about it, you think it's just like there's this nurse aid thing that's happening, right? And then she was like, oh yeah, I heard about it too, but I'm not so keen in it because, with us, we want to see someone doing it first and going to the UK.
Yes.
And then we start acting.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, fine. Then insurance, and then I thought, okay, fine. If I do this nurse aid, I'll be going to the UK. I can do insurance. Because in my mind, I was so consumed with insurance because like I said, I had done an online degree with the insurance company, with an insurance institute. So I thought to myself, okay, fine. I do this program. I've done this program. I can actually, do this nurse aid, go to the UK, and then go into insurance.
Yeah.
To me, it was just one, two, three. It was just that easy.
Yeah.
So I feel like, in as much as I thought, okay, fine, I want to, better my life. To be honest, I didn't even really think about the bettering of my life.
Okay.
It was more driven by I would be in insurance because insurance, to be honest, is very big in London. I feel like that's the hub.
It's very,
you see. So then August 2021, I was like with my friend, okay, fine, let's just research on this. And then she was like, well, Sharon, I mean, we've got good jobs. What we need.
You know, I was going
We've
to ask,
got-
like, when you're talking to people and saying, we could do this thing, what are they saying? Especially people who know that, Sharon, you're doing well, yeah, branch manager, you've got your things in
Exactly.
order. What are they saying? What are they
Yeah,
thinking?
because it was more like, Sharon, you've got a good job. I mean, you're driving a really nice car. You're successful. You're a branch manager. Why would you want to be a nurse aide?
Yeah.
Right? And to be honest, there were times that I used to doubt myself to think, will this be like a fall of grace type of thing? I think my father would probably turn in his grave to say, this girl, she did all that to become a nurse. So I felt like, okay, fine. Maybe I have to defy, like, it has to be that defying moment yet again.
This time, define yourself.
I have to defy myself, So in August 2021, my friend started researching. I remember we then went to St. John's and we asked about it. We're like, okay, fine. Red Cross seems a bit, it's not our standard. Let's go to St. John's, let's St. John's ambulance and stuff. They said, yeah, it's true. You can do the program and you can go to the UK, right? So, but the problem with that with St. John's, I couldn't go because they wanted us to be there every day, and obviously I had a job. I couldn't really just say, oh yeah, I need 3 weeks annual leave. I'm going to do,
another
course. And they're like, are you crazy? That type of thing. So I ended up having to go to Red Cross because with Red Cross they were doing a situation where you would do 2 days in and then you'd be just studying and all of that. So I was like, okay, fine, let me do this.
Yeah.
I got in. Funny enough, it was a full class.
Okay.
Everyone was going to the UK.
Because, back home, like, word gets around fast and everyone is trying to make a plan.
And already while adding each other numbers and saying, okay, fine, so what are we doing?
Yeah.
We already have this care groups, UK journey, it was, we're going to the UK, So obviously work, people didn't know.
Yeah.
I only told my mother that I was interested in going to the UK when I actually finished the Red Cross, because it was like 3 weeks.
Was there like I think there was like in practice training or something? Did you have to do that as well?
Wait, I'll tell you. So we did the 3 weeks. I was going into the office, and it's quite unfortunate. You'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going for meetings, and you'd go for in Zim you could go for 5-6 hour meetings, and no one would ask you.
Yeah.
You see, so I took that opportunity, did my training and stuff, and then you had to do the English test, the IELTS. So I registered for it. I even got a loan from work to do the whole thing. I did my IELTS, and then I did my TB test and everything else. Everything was now in place. So you think, oh, it's just a 1, 2, 3 step. It's going to. Then the challenge came when you're like, okay, fine. We now need to apply for these jobs. And you're thinking, okay, so where do we apply for this job? We never really thought about that.
Yeah.
Some people were lucky in the sense that they had relatives in the UK already.
We're sourcing the
so
jobs
they were
for them,
just,
sort of,
so you would obviously lean towards those people to say, oh, give me information and all of that. And some were forthcoming, and others are just saying, okay, I'll tell you when I get to the UK.
Yeah.
So I remember one of the girls that we actually did the course with in January of 2022, she actually went to the UK. Lo and behold,
and now
people
you had
we had tangible evidence that
this
people
actually
can go,
people can actually
right?
go.
But lo and behold, what do people do? They delete numbers, and
Are you serious?
Yes, and then you're thinking, but we were soldiers together. Now
you're already there.
You're already there, but obviously, like, you know what, guys, let's just keep praying, and and then to myself, I was like, oh my God. I might have made a mistake.
Yeah.
But in my defense, I was like, okay, fine. At least I made a mistake. I might have made a mistake.
Yeah.
But I still have my job. I still have my cushy job with my cushy everything, my cushy car. But then I remember mid-January.
Yeah.
I was in Harare, and then a text came in one of our groups.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, oh yeah, there's this company that's taking, go on LinkedIn and just apply. So, now I was just applying to say, whatever, even if it happens, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Then I applied on LinkedIn for this care company. Then the manager phoned me and he was like, oh yeah, I saw your CV. Are you interested in, do you have all the papers? I was like, oh yeah, I do. Right. And I was like, okay, fine. we're going to have an interview. And you're thinking, okay, fine. We're going to have an interview. Now you don't even know anything about it.
Yeah.
Yes, you just know, nurse aid and stuff and, the practical first aid stuff. Like, okay, fine, we're going to do an interview, an online interview.
Yeah.
So now I'm Googling, I'm trying to think, okay, fine, what is K?
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, wait, it's saying nurse aid. I was searching nurse aid, but in the UK, it's care work.
Care work, yeah.
So I was trying to think, okay, fine, care work and nurse aid, what is it?
Is it the same thing?
Is it the same thing or something?
Different? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was like, okay, fine, let me just read about, care work. And I did, and, I did the interview. It was okay. Obviously, he knew that, okay, fine, this person doesn't really have that much of experience because I did I only did actually 2 months of the training.
Yeah.
And it ekuphumuleni nursing home.
How did you do that? How did you get 2 months
Friends.
of work to do practical training
I
and
was
be a
doing
branch
night
manager?
shifts. Night.
So during 8 to 5, you are in the office?
In the office. Night I'm going. Like, I was that determined, but I knew that if this goes south, I'll be devastated. So I was doing day, I'd be in the office and then I'd do night shifts. But it was a situation where you would do 7 days of night shift and then the next week you would be off.
Okay, because I was about to say, how's your mental health doing at this point?
It was,
how are you
at that
when
point,
are you sleeping?
At that point, you don't even think about, you are just thinking, I need, because I knew that there was no way I was going to get an annual leave of a month to actually do this.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, I have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
The same way I did it with insurance, I had to make sacrifices. I just have to make sacrifices. But at this moment, it's just me.
Yeah.
It's just me doing this. If it fails, I'll just nurse myself by myself and no one would know, right? And at this time, I had told my mom, I'm going to the UK. My mom was like, to do what? Tell me, what are you going to do? I'm going to do nurse aid. And you're thinking, wait, nurse aid? What is nurse aid? Care work and everything. And yes, when we were growing up, when you were, my mom or my aunt is in the UK and they're doing care.
Yeah.
It was something that was laughed upon.
Yeah.
It was something that was laughed upon.
So they'd actually say, so they left here, they had a good and big house, and now they're wiping
people's bums and stuff in that. What is that?
Yeah.
So my mom was just trying to make sense, and she was like, "Oh my God, Lord, why is this child, this black sheep?
Yeah.
It's all over again. I thought we were done with it. It's starting again."
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "You have a good job. You have a good job. Your son." And by then my son was 2 years old. Remember? And I was like, "You have a good job. What do you need?" I mean, everyone. I mean, nurse aid is UK civil. Are you crazy? And you've got a good job here. And I thought to myself, okay, fine, let me do this. If I fail, I can come back with my Changani bag and you can, accompany me to the airport and
it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, hey, people have done it, and if they fail, they come back home, right? So she was like, okay, fine. Do it. She didn't think I was serious, obviously.
Yeah.
I got the job. I remember it was mid-January, the manager then phoned me, "Oh yeah, you did well in your interview. We're going to send you the certificate of sponsorship." Mind you, that thing is liquid gold. Like it's gold.
The amount of money,
it's gold.
Yeah.
It's at that time, people are like, "Oh yeah, you need," because everyone just thought, "Oh yeah, you just do your applications and then next thing you're flying, you're flying to go to the UK." But it wasn't that, because you had to get that certificate of sponsorship, and I got it. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is happening! This is happening!" I went and paid for my visa application. I remember I applied for my visa on the 25th of January.
Yeah.
I took a day off at work, day off. And I went to Harare, slept at my cousin's house. It was, I'm here for work, it's just work.
You really were keeping your cards close to your chest. Like.
I was like, I came here for work. It's just a one-day trip and everything. I went, I submitted my biometrics and everything. 25 January. Now I'm thinking, okay, fine, I've done this. Now you're having, mini panic attacks. You think, okay, fine.
Will I get
What what if they ban me from coming to the UK altogether? You know, you're just getting all these crazy ideas and everything. And I think what really what gave me that reassurance was I knew we were soldiers in the same, going towards the same goal,
Yeah.
but we were just a small circle of people
Yeah.
who were doing this, and no one really knew about it. Right? My visa came on the 4th of February.
That's like how many? Like
That's like
9 days.
Yeah, that's like 9 days. That was like nine. I remember I was checking my emails this one time, and I saw a decision has been
Yes,
made.
it counts as a decision.
Yes,
They don't tell you
no.
what it is in the
No,
email. It's just a decision has been made. And I'm saying,
now
thinking
I'm
this
getting-
quick, it means I've been denied.
I've been denied.
Yeah.
And everyone is saying, oh yeah, the moment it comes very quickly, you're supposed to give you because people were saying, oh no, it's 6 weeks. 6 weeks and that's it. If it comes sooner than that, I remember on the 4th of February, I was like, oh my God, my visa, did I get the visa or didn't I? Maybe they banned me. Now I'm not even allowed to come to the UK and everything. But I was like, you know what? I just need to get my passport, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. For some reason, I don't even know. I feel like I was just... sometimes I feel like I look back and I think I had such... I was so driven. I don't know what it was, what force it was, but I was like, you know what? If it comes out, that's it. I even wrote my resignation letter.
Before you went to get the visa?
Before I went to here, I was like, okay, if the visa comes out,
you're handing this in.
I'm handing this in. If it doesn't, I'll just tear it in.
Up. You continue.
I did that. I went. I was if I say I had a panic attack, I don't even know how to explain it. It was serious. It was I was shaking. I was like, okay. I went to TSL.
But why the panic attack? Because you had been doing this as is it because in your head still it was, this is my big ticket to doing insurance in the UK? It wasn't about I'm not gonna go to the UK and do care work. It was this is my ticket into the big market.
Into the big market. I just wanted my name plastered everywhere, So I felt like if this doesn't happen, I knew I had a good job.
The way you were,
I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted to be big in the UK, right? So I went, I got my passport, I even got a new passport. I was like, I'm not going to mess it up with those double departures as a Botswana. I opened and there was that clearance. I closed it and I opened it again. I closed it. I opened it again. I was like, this is me. This is me. At that moment, I remember I was like, I thanked myself. We don't thank ourselves when we finally get that big break.
Yeah, after working so hard.
I was like, I'm going to thank myself because I know what I had to go through to get here. Then I went to my job. I was like, okay, I've got big news. I'm leaving the company. And everyone was like, leaving? Why? Where are you going? I was like, I'm going to the UK. And everyone was like, everyone laughed. They're like, okay, fine, you're going to the UK. I showed them my visa. People were shocked. They were like, what? You're going to the UK? I was like, yeah. Handed in my resignation. Obviously, my boss wasn't pleased.
Yeah.
I mean, I was grooming you to be the next.
Yes.
And what's going on?
Was this the lady from?
Yes.
Because I'm thinking she was probably thinking, I had to give her a chance because no one else wanted to, and it's a male-dominated, and maybe this is a protege that I'm bringing up, and then now she's saying, I'm going to the
UK, So yeah, she was like, fine, you're going to the UK. Well, what can I do? I can't really say, counter offer and everything, right? I then came back to Bulawayo. And, now I'm telling my mom, yeah, my visa is out. Now my mom is now having the panic attack to saying, where are you going? You're going now. And I'm like, yeah, so what are you going to do? That process of selling my car, selling property and everything. And you're thinking, this is it. I'm going to go there. I've sold everything of mine. The little money I have, I'm going to start over, right? And obviously, you get here. It was cold. I remember it was in February.
Yeah, it was in February.
Super cold. I was like, hey, this is, when I got to the airport, they'll ask you, also, where are you coming from? Yeah. I have a job. Or like, welcome to the UK. Yeah. That Heathrow sign. You know, people don't understand. It's like you have made it in
To the
life.
promised land.
You have made it, Stevie Kenan, you have made it to the promised land. I remember the lady was coming to pick me up. She then took a picture of me standing. I was so happy. I couldn't even believe it myself that this is me. I'm in the UK, right? But you know, when you get there, you're like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. You're thinking, you know, the road is going to be paved with pounds and you know, all that, you know.
Yeah.
So, but the reality of it all and the expectation was very different.
Yes, let's go into that. Reading about it is one thing. Okay, we want a care worker, as I say. You will take care of, you know, the poorly and the elderly, you know, help them with their day-to-day runnings.
Yeah.
But what is it actually when you step in there and you have your gloves on and they're like, yeah, here's the person you're taking care of today.
Exactly.
How's that been?
It's believe me, the first time when you see an old person undressed, it's traumatizing. It's traumatizing. You're like, oh my God. I've never even seen my own grandmother or grandfather naked. You see?
Yeah.
So it was that thing where you're coming from. You're so used to, you know, the office. I mean, I feel like the Zimbabwean culture is very slow when it comes to work.
Yeah.
But here, you're earning your money every hour. Every hour. Waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning. Because when I started, I was doing domiciliary care where you're going door to door. You know, you're driving to people's houses. It was hectic, Noble. The first 6 months were really, it was a trying time.
Yeah.
I remember I would come back around 10 in the evening. I would be crying. I'd be crying thinking, is this what I left? I felt like I was going to come, do care work for 2 weeks and go into insurance. That was my thinking.
So you didn't quite understand the fact
I didn't
that you're
quite
tied
understand
to this
that no,
thing
girl, there
until...
are like terms and conditions and things that you have to, you know. It was that reality that then sank and said, my God, so I have to do this for 5 years. I have to put in the work for 5 years until I get that indefinite leave to remain, until I get that British citizenship. I have to do this for 5 years. I remember I phoned my mother. It was in around August, and I was like, Mama, I want to come back. Now my mother's been enjoying pounds. She was like, Kelly, come back for what? Come back for what? For what? Who are you coming back to? Stay there. Do you want me to pray for you? I
can pray for the Lord to give you strength.
Prayer band, don't worry. We wake up 5 o'clock. Prayer band is there for you. Because imagine you're now sending Imali, you know, you are sending the money every month. Now you want to remove that from, you're like, no, stay there. You want me to pray for you? I'll pray for you, but stay there, right? And you're thinking, but at that moment, you're also thinking, wait, if I go back, where am I going to?
Because it's not like you're just going to walk back into...
Say, oh yeah, I want my job
I'm
back.
back as branch manager.
No.
Where were we? You know?
It doesn't happen like that. So it was, in a way, she helped me because I was like, okay, fine. I just have to do this.
Yeah.
I just have to push through. But you know, at 6 months, you're just thinking, you know, 5 years when you're just 6 months into it, it's like the worst thing. Like, you know, but the job is not hard.
Okay.
But it's the waking up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Coming home at 10.
Yeah.
You're dog tired.
Yeah.
Your day off, I don't want to lie to you. Local Goguti, you come, you're cooking sadza, you do the dishes, you go to sleep, you watch TV. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, you would just come and sleep the whole day. And you know, with our mothers, you'd be like, the sun is out and they're still sleeping.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, you know what? I'm not even going to. You would just sleep on your day off. And
has it gotten better?
It has. It has. I mean, it has.
How so?
In the sense that I then moved from domiciliary care, where the driving was hectic. I went into a care home.
Okay.
So with a care home, I'm working nights.
Okay.
You're just doing your 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and you're in one place.
Okay.
You see, it's that stability where you know you're in one place.
Okay.
You've got your 12 hours.
Yeah.
You've clocked your 12 hours. You go back home,
okay.
right?
Okay.
It's not a situation where you're going to be told, oh yeah, you have to come in today, or no, we haven't, or we don't have anyone to cover that shift. Or you see, and driving is so hectic. I used to like driving when I was back in Zimbabwe. When I came to the UK, I hated driving so much so that when I left domiciliary care, I sold my car. I was like, I don't even want to entertain domiciliary care because it was so hectic. I sold my car. I was like, at least with the care home, everyone will threaten, will be saying, oh yeah, it's hectic care homes. You'll be standing all day and night and stuff.
But at least it ends.
But it ends.
You have another 12 hours of...
You see, so with the care home, I've been here for like 2.5 years now, and the care home, I only work 4 days. I've got 3 days off. Wow. And the beauty of it is that, I've got set days that I know Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, I'm working. Tuesday, Thursday, and whatever, I'm off. You've got 3 days you can plan. But with the domiciliary care, I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes I'm a Zimbabweans. We're our own worst enemies. We ill-treat each other, and that backstabbing, gossiping, and wanting to be the manager's favorite. And to be honest, as well, with the employers, the Zimbabweans, they're also getting into it. And you're bringing in people from Africa. You've set up this company. People are not really doing the things that they're doing, the shortcuts and stuff. So we were both learning, employee, we were both learning into it. And to be fair, sometimes, Tina, we were not making it easy. We would make silly mistakes, but
that cost the...
Exactly, that cost the company. So gradually, we then, I think now, we're now in that consensus to say, you know what, this is our livelihood. If we don't do this right, we're all going home. We will just pack up and go home.
So tell me, the dream hasn't died to end up back in insurance. So what are you doing? What's the big goal? What's the big plan? And what are you doing right now to make sure that when you get your ILR? I think, because I know a lot of people who've come here who had, they might not have been execs like you, but had relatively stable, corporate whatever careers, right? And who had to sacrifice that to come here for the time being. But I feel a lot of people are stuck mentally in that they believe that one day I'll get ILR and I'll go back to my field. But they're not really thinking a lot about what happens in these 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, is someone going to hire someone who last worked in this industry 5 years ago? So I think there's a gap and a mismatch there that not a lot of people, as far as I know, are doing stuff to stay relevant in their field.
That's true.
So I'm curious to hear what you are doing to make sure that your dream doesn't die.
Well, to be honest, I had those fears as well. And I still do have the fears to think, okay, 5 years from now, I'm going to go rock up in a suit and heels and say, oh yeah, hi, I've got my degree and everything. They're like, oh, you haven't been working in 5 years. So what I've just done is that with the institute that I did my associate's degree with, they've got, like programs that you do. You just have to make sure that you keep up with the programs, the CPDs, making sure that, you are in there. It's hard to keep because I sleep in the daytime, right? And I work at nighttime. So you're having to make that sacrifice where, when you're having to do CPDs, you have to sacrifice that 2 hour, 3 hour sleep to make sure you're doing it. You're going to functions, to do it with insurance. You just have to keep yourself relevant. Yes, in as much as I don't really have that UK experience in terms of insurance, I'm just hoping that one person will give me a chance. And I feel like I have this to show, to say, okay, fine, I've kept myself relevant. I've done this. Give me a chance. And the program that I did, the insurance program in this UK, I feel like it's a good program. Not many have it. Right? And those that are here, like I said, will just have the certificate and they'll be working, and people don't want to advance into the associate stuff. So I feel like it's that edge that I have. I'm just hoping that one day someone will say, okay, fine, I'll give you a chance. And I also have UK contacts where there are people that managed. So you can have a situation where the wife is doing care, the husband comes and is a dependent and is in insurance. So I've really kept close contact with those that managed to come via dependence and that are are in the insurance
in their
industry.
fields, yeah.
And it gives me hope when they say, oh yeah, jobs are there.
Yeah.
But obviously, fine, it's the sponsorship
Yeah.
thing that's not forthcoming.
Yeah.
But when the time comes,
Yeah.
at least you have those few individuals
Yeah.
who you know that, you know what, they might give me a chance. We've been in good books. And the power of connections. People don't really
Yes.
understand the
Networking
power
and
of
connection.
networking and connections are very important.
I could learn a bit from that, because
Yeah.
I think maybe it's also a function of, not really feeling like you fit in, because I'm also the only black person in my team and all
Yeah.
that. So a lot of the time I'm just like, I'm here to do my job and go home.
You see,
But I have a lot to learn in terms of connections and putting myself out there.
and I always put myself there. Even when you're tired, you say, you know what, Sharon, you have sacrificed so much
To be here.
You
can't-
and you have made it here.
Yeah.
It's just put in a little bit more, and you're going to realize your dream, and one day you're going to be sitting in that corner office, writing away, risks and all of that. So I think for me, and the other thing that I actually wanted to say is that my husband is in insurance.
Look at them, see what the Lord has done,
What actually, I'm just going to take you back a little bit. So what happened is that when I finished my course, the associate's degree with the CII UK, I came to the UK, and when I changed my when I told them, oh, now I'm no longer in Zimbabwe, I'm now in the UK. They're like, oh, okay, so you can actually come for the graduation. Because I think Udala, it used to happen, but people would come in and then disappear and not want to come and go back home. They're like, oh, okay, fine, you can actually come to the graduation. So when I went to Lloyd's, the Lloyd's of London, at that moment I was the only black. There are white people in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
But it's just 3-4 white people. I can manage these white people. Now when you're in a room of 200, 300 white people, you're thinking, what am I doing? I remember I wanted to walk out. I was like, you know what, this graduation, they'll just give me my certificate and I'll go. I wanted to walk out. So as I was turning around, there was another black guy who happens to now be my husband. So there was a black guy. He was with his mom and his sister.
Yeah.
I looked at him. When you look at someone, you're like, oh my God.
I see. It's like, that, when you're walking the streets, right, and you see a black person, there's always like that nod that we give each other that says, I see you.
I see you. So he didn't really look at me, but I looked at him like, So I was like, okay, fine, there's hope, right? So he was with his mom and his sister, and, we took seats to say, okay, fine. So I then sat close to where they were, but not too close to think, okay, fine, I don't want people to think she's talking, And we sat there, and then after the graduation, when everything was done, you're like, hi, how are you? I'm Sam, I'm Sharon. We just exchanged numbers, and, we kept in contact in LinkedIn, right? So I felt like, in a way, I've always been pushed to insurance, and even I don't think the insurance dream will die because I have got an insurer in the house.
Wow, and look at God.
You see? And my husband always saying, Sharon, care is just
a gateway. And it's just
but
a gateway.
Babe, I know you're going to, you're so driven, you're going to come back into insurance. And when we're at home, when we're talking about insurance, I get excited. I get excited when we're like, you know what, my dream is not going to die.
And the importance of a support system.
My husband is so supportive. I can assure you he's very supportive. Even when I feel like, you know what, maybe I'm dreaming too big. Maybe I need to tone down. But I was like, no, don't do that. I know you're driven, you're ambitious, you're focused. And I will not let you destroy that dream because I know what you had to go through to get to where you are. So, yeah.
The dream lives on.
It's insurance all the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what has this journey and this season, because you're currently in it, what is it teaching you?
Patience.
Okay.
Something that, patience. And at the same time, don't remove your eyes from the goal. You see, so many times we get excited to say, oh yeah, I've got this dream. But it takes a lot of work to actually... Everyone wants to be Bill Gates.
Yeah.
To be honest, everyone wants that money. But no one wants then to put in that work
that's required.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's hard when I get up in the morning, and I'm thinking, okay, fine, I'm doing K, and I'm seeing you corporate, LinkedIn posting, and you're thinking, when is it going to happen?
Yeah.
But it's that patience to say, Sharon, where you came from, I mean, the journey has been long,
yeah.
but you're nearly there. You just need to be patient. You just need to be focused on that goal. I remember when there's something that you once said to me. I still I remember I marked that message. You said, do what you have to do to make sure that you have what you want. You remember? I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. And I'm like,
you say, do what you have to do to get to where you want to be. And to be honest, I remember I took a pic, I screenshotted that, and I wrote it down, and I just put it on one of my books in my insurance book. So every time I just look at it and said, Nubibele said this to me. And to be honest, I have to do what I have to do to get to where I want to go. And I have put in the work. So whenever I am sitting in that corner office, I say, you know what?
I've earned my stripes.
I have earned it. I have earned my stripe. This did not just come like, a silver spoon. I actually had to put in the work. And I feel like, it's not every time that you actually get someone who says, oh yeah, I got you. I honestly got everything that I've ever wanted. When it comes to my career, I have everything I've ever wanted. I've had to struggle here and there, but I feel like I'm one of the few people who says, you know what, when I grow up, I want to be an insurer, and I actually did it.
Yeah.
When you are young, you say I want to be a lawyer. Next thing you're something else.
Yeah.
So you see, so yeah, I feel like the journey has taught me patience. There are times when I get frustrated. When you're like, I don't need this. I've got 2 sisters at degrees.
Yeah.
Why am I being treated like this? And sometimes
clients are humility also.
It takes humility, because I remember there's this old lady, bless her. She asked me, she was like, can you read in English? And I was like, we're speaking English, right? We're conversing in English, and you're asking me if I can read English. And do you know what she wanted? She wanted me to get a shampoo. She was like, do you see what that is? It says shampoo. And I was like, so it really takes humility in that thing to say, okay, fine. This is let me just tell myself, okay, fine, I'm in this 5-year jail, and I'm going to be out soon. And free. So, yeah.
So I have to say, like, I didn't know I sent you that. I don't remember sending you that message, but I think I can echo it again, and I really do believe that you find your way back, and I do think you're an exceptional person. And even when we lost touch, I used to see on LinkedIn that you're doing so great.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just keep at it. Don't let the dream die. I have no doubt that you will make it. But yeah, so thank you so much for coming.
No, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for making the time. You've been sleeping because you're working tonight.
I'm actually working tonight.
Yeah, so I really, really appreciate you, and I can't wait to see where life takes you.
I do hope it takes me to that Lloyd's.
It will. Right. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please do feel free to engage in the comment section. I will try to get Sharon to respond to any of the questions that you might have, as I'm sure there are a lot of you who probably can relate with this. So please do feel free. And as always, like, share, subscribe. Don't skip the ads. Okay, I should have been saying this at the start, but in the next video, don't skip the ads. But I'll see you guys again next time. Goodbye.